Hi guys, I hope I'm audible right now. If I'm audible, just send me any emojis on the chat box out there. Okay, great. Great to see you guys here. Sorry, got couple of minutes delay because there was some camera issue. It was not letting me log in with the camera. So let's start the session. So how many of you are actually excited to know how to actually start generating leads and getting more information about your clients or probably your potential leads from, let's say, social channel, which is like LinkedIn. How many of you are excited to get to know the details here? If you are excited, send me a fire emoji that you can see on the chat box out there on the left. I hope I'm audible. Okay, great. I could see Navneet, Pooja, Dheeraj. Thanks for joining in, guys. Akshat, thanks for joining in this session. And I'll shortly start sharing my screen as well. And I'll take you through the post that I had actually created on LinkedIn so that it would be easy for us to go through the live post. And I'll take it as a Q&A session so that if you have any doubts, please feel free to clarify and we'll go step by step on that. So let me just share my screen and we'll get started with that. I hope my screen is visible to you guys. Great. So now I'll just expand this view. Yeah. So I hope you guys can see the screen now. Okay, great. So during these sessions, the reason why I'm doing one of these sessions, like why personal branding can actually help you in getting inbound leads, is that during one of my last session, wherein I was having a conversation with the entire community, and majority of them had said that all of us are trying to work on our personal brand. All of us are super active on any social media platform. But at the end of the day, if we are offering any kind of services or any kind of products that we are catering, if you're not getting enough leads, then how is actually personal branding helping, or what's the point of doing personal branding if eventually it's not leading us to either leads or generating more income for our business or for ourselves? So today we'll be discussing more about how you can actually start getting leads from these conversations of while you're trying to build your personal brand on social media channels such as LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, how you can actually start getting leads from there as well. So the first point, which I really think, because which is really important for any customer who's trying to look out for a service, is that they would be looking out for someone who's actually credible in the field and who has a say within the industry. Let's take a simple example out here. If I am a business and I'm looking out for a digital marketing services, there are thousands of companies offering digital marketing services. There are thousands of agencies that are offering digital marketing services. But how do I select the best one? Or what are the metrics that I would look out for while selecting the best option that's available? So that's when I actually start looking out for who would be the owner of that agency, or who are the freelancers, or who are the individuals that are actually working towards the digital marketing services. Are they credible enough? Have they worked with enough clients and built that credibility? How is their profile looking? Are they sharing valuable information, or is it just the normal kind of post that they're doing? And while evaluating their post, is it educational? Is it letting me learn something new which I didn't know before? Or is it just some common knowledge which anyone and everyone can access through Wikipedia or YouTube? So these are some of the factors that any client will start analyzing or start evaluating while finalizing their service providers or their vendors or a partner. So make sure that while you personal branding helps you build that credibility, but that credibility in turn can actually start generating inbound leads for you. if you have, let's say, a very good established name for yourself in the market, if you have already started building your brand for over 6 months, a lot of people would know you as a person. But once you start sharing your inputs, your experiments, your results, and your testimonials, then a lot of people would start believing in you and would want to know more about the products or the services that you're offering. So, any questions you have on how to build credibility or how to build authority to get inbound leads, please feel free to ask those questions as well. This is a free flowing session. Please feel free to drop in any questions that you have, and I'll happily answer them along the way. I do not want to wait till the end to answer all the questions. So, feel free to jump in with any questions that you have, and I'll happily answer that for you. So Akshat here is asking, when you say your brand, you are referring to a company or a person. So here, when I'm talking about a brand, I'm talking about a person, an individual. So let's say, for example, if Cherry Joes is trying to be known in the field of social media marketing or digital marketing, I am trying to build my brand. I'm trying to build my credibility through my case studies, through my experiments, through my A/B test, and through my client testimonials. So these are the four ways that I'm trying to build my brand so that the others, if they want to avail my services, they can read my post and get to know, okay, so Jerry has done A, work for client, B, work for client, C, work for client, and all these three are my requirements. If he has done something similar for them, let me have a conversation with him and see how he can help me. So that is something there over here that I'm talking about. It's a personal brand and not a company brand. Because when someone is offering products or services for their company, they would like to avail themselves of that credibility and at the end of the day, people buy from people and not from a company or a logo or an organization or a building. They buy from people on the other side as well. So make sure that you're relating to the person who's at the other end. Next question, I got a question from Rudresh. How do you build credibility if you are a fresher? Great question, Rudresh, because a lot of people who have just started their journey, who are probably students, graduates, or even undergraduates, they come and ask me, how can I actually build credibility because I'm just a fresher or a newbie in this industry? So try and so let's say you are a fresher, you must have chosen a specialization field in your postgrad. So when you are specializing, when you're learning your specialization, take an approach of asking questions. Take an approach of sharing what you have learned from your college or sharing from what your recent experience was. The recent experience can be internship, the recent experience can be a live project or a case study that you have studied in college. So while you are sharing that information, make sure that you're taking the question approach rather than an answer approach. So let's take an example out here. What do I mean by question approach? So recently I studied a case study from Pepsi wherein they spend X amount of money to enter a new market, to brand themselves and sell their products. And through that case study, I learned that when you're entering a new market, there are various challenges that a brand or a company faces, be it competitors, be it local population, how they treat you as a brand. So while learning that case study from Pepsi, I've learned A, B, C, D. Do you think if we can relate that with the Indian market, would that make sense? So asking these kind of questions would portray your profile as someone who is inquisitive, who wants to know more about that specialization or wants to know more about that particular domain. And slowly and steadily, as you keep asking those questions and keep interacting with people who are credible within the industry, you can start building that credibility for your brand. It won't happen within a year or a couple of years. It takes time. While you are sharing your learnings, by sharing your learnings, that's how you can actually start building uh, credibility or at least a known figure for yourself, a known person for your brand. So that's something that you can definitely try out when you are starting off or when you're just in college or a fresher. I hope that answers your question, Rudresh. Moving to another question. what type of content do you think we can post to build to build authority? I can talk from my personal experience because I've posted a lot of carousels, I've posted a lot of text, and that these are the two content format that has helped me uh, build that authority or build that credibility within LinkedIn, within Twitter. The type of content, I would keep it a mix between educational and entertainment because, as I always keep saying, educational content would bring in clients, would bring in resources, would bring in opportunities for you to become speakers, panelists, or take webinar sessions. But the entertaining content would actually help you build your community, build the audience that you're trying to cater to. So keep it a mix of educational plus entertaining content. And that's something that has helped me build authority on platforms such as LinkedIn or Twitter. So I hope that answers your question as well. You think on Twitter we need credibility as it's more of a chat forum? Dheeraj, that's a great question. If you actually start looking at how Twitter is now working from 2020, it has actually moved away from being just a chat forum. A lot of people start have started hiring on Twitter, have started looking for service providers on Twitter. With the launch of Twitter Space, a lot of people have started interacting on Twitter Space to get to know each other better, what kind of services they could be getting from there, what kind of offerings that they can share on that platform, and how they can share their knowledge. So it has definitely moved away from just being a chat forum. And I would really recommend if you are trying to build a social media platform and if you're working on your personal brand, it's very easy to build credibility on Twitter because that platform is really fast. You can do 5, 10 tweets a day and still you can stay relevant on that platform. So while you're building your audience on Twitter, stay relevant, stay on topic, and try and interact with people and try and interact through value adding comments because that's how you can build credibility on Twitter. And I'm also learning Twitter, how that can actually help me. In the past 6 months, I was able to grow my following from 1,000 to now 6,000. So I'm still on the learning phase of Twitter, but it's definitely a fun platform to explore. Now, moving on to the second section of the post, wherein now we have talked about credibility and authority. Now, let's talk about how you can actually publish success stories or case studies so that the audience can actually evaluate how you have worked for a client or what benefits the client would have got. I'll take a simple example here. My thought process while writing this was when I was able to reduce the cost per lead for one of my clients from $100 to $40. So that was a $60 save for him. And that was one case study that I published wherein how we defined the problem statement. The problem statement was the client wanted more leads for his webinar sessions, for his speaker sessions. And typically, he chose the paid advertisement route. And for paid advertisement, his cost per lead was somewhere between $100 to $150. And we wanted to reduce that to probably under $50. So that was my task. And through various optimization on ad platforms, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and on even on Facebook. Through these lead generation mechanism and through various optimization, I was able to bring down to $40. So that was an immediate $60 save per lead for that client. So that is an example of case study. So whenever you're publishing any case study, make sure that you're bringing in numbers and facts because that is when the future clients or the future prospects will reach out to you to understand better, okay, how did you do that? What are the various optimization metrics that you've used? Can you suggest us various platforms? And that will actually help you negotiate rates better when you're trying to bring in new clients as well. If you're able to prove results, you can even quote higher prices because the client will know that you bring in a lot of value, and this can definitely help. So any questions if you have related to case studies, how you can promote case studies or how you can promote testimonials and build credibility with your brand to get inbound leads, please feel free to ask those questions before I move forward. Let me bring in another example out here. While publishing case studies, one very important thing that you need to remember is that make sure that while you are interacting with your clients, before publishing any case study, make sure that you get approval from client first, and you're documenting each and every conversation that you have with client. A lot of times what happens here is we just get on a Zoom call, we make small notes, and then we leave the meeting. But for case study, you need a detailed report. So make sure that every meeting of yours with the client is being recorded with client's permission. And then you can use those footage, or you can use those data points as a case study metric, which you can publish on the other sites. We have a question again from Aniket now. What do you mean by case studies? Can you give an example? So Aniket, the example that I gave, like how I was able to reduce the cost per lead for my client from $100 to probably $40, how that happened, what are the various optimization metrics that I used for paid advertisement. Those metrics or those answers is a case study. The problem statement was to get leads at a cheaper rate, which was under $50. Currently, they were getting it at $100 to $150. And while partnering with me, I was able to bring their cost per lead to below to around $40. So that is a case study wherein the problem is there, the solution is there, and what are the approaches that I've taken. All three gets catered, and that can be presented as a case study to any new client that's approaching you. Uh, Priya is asking a question. I have only around 20, 30 connections on LinkedIn. So just starting out, I find no one is seeing posts that I put out. So Priya, when you're starting new and if you've just started your journey on LinkedIn, it takes time to build connect with people. Just few tips that I wanted to share with you since you've just started on LinkedIn. Start connecting with people who are a part of your target group. Now, what I mean by target group is, since let me take again my example here. I am into the field of marketing and branding. I would want to connect with people who are either in marketing or people who are looking out for marketing and branding services. So I would go out, I would reach out to people who are in marketing field, or people who are heading marketing function, or people or entrepreneurs or founders who are probably looking out for marketing services. So Priya, for you, let's say for example, if you're a student and if you're specializing in marketing or operations or even tech, start reaching out to people who are a part of your community, who are a part of your domain, and connect with them and start responding to their post, start interacting with them, start engaging with their post, and slowly you can see engagement happening on your post. It won't happen overnight. So there's a 90-day plan that I typically talk about with a lot of my clients on how you can actually start from scratch. And after 90 days, you can expect a lot of engagement happening on your post. So give yourself that time of 90 days. Keep posting. Don't stop posting, but then focus more on engaging with others and how others are creating content and engaging. So use that metric while you're just starting your journey. Now, let's move to the third point that I've mentioned here, which is talking more of getting invited as speaker, boost the brand image, and people really want to connect with you. So while you're building a personal brand, you would definitely notice that after you cross 6 to 8 months, once a lot of people start knowing more about you, a lot of people would reach out to you to become a guest speaker on their webinar or guest speaker on their podcast, or you can have a panel session happening wherein you're discussing one topic and you could be one of the panel members. Now, whenever you're speaking at these platforms, or whenever you are just want to check, guys, am I audible right now? I'm sorry, there was some net connection. I hope I'm audible now. If I'm audible, please feel free to drop in any emoji sign so that I know that I'm still audible there. Okay, great. Okay, great. So yeah, I was talking about getting invited as speaker. Uh, getting invited as a speaker, and how you can actually make sure that once you have started building your brand, you get invites from a lot of people to become speaker on podcast, become a speaker on their webinar, and also become a panel member as well. So that's one thing that you can make sure that whenever you are getting invited as a speaker, make sure that you're staying relevant to the topic that's available as well, and make sure that you start connecting with people before the event goes live. Now, I'll tell you the reason why it's important to connect with people before the event goes live. Whenever you are connecting with people before the event goes live, you can definitely check with them on what they are actually looking out from the program. That would help you or let you frame the structure of the program, and also let you know what the audience is actually looking out for. And that would give you clarity on what the expectations is and how you can actually proceed with that conversation. Secondly, while you're having these kinds of conversations on a on a podcast or on a webinar or during these such live sessions, you can actually get a lot of leads, because if you just simply post on social media network, that human connection, or they cannot see you speak, or they cannot hear your experiences. When they see and hear your experiences, the chances of them reaching out to you gets higher. So this is again an important way to start getting more leads or getting more information about the products or the services that you have. Another question, great question, Vivan here. How do you ensure that as a speaker you don't overdo it, as there is a fine line between that? So that's a great question over there, because the thing is, once you uh, see that you have reached a stage wherein you're getting a lot of requests, and there's no harm in doing a live session or becoming a speaker on any of the speaker channel. But the thing that you need to remember is that the story that you share, if a lot of people have already heard that story, nobody would be tuning into the channel again. The presenter can be different one, but since you are a speaker over there, and if you have shared the same story, and if you're sharing the same story, let's say thrice within the same week, a lot of people would not join again. So you need to make sure that you need to have that repetitive audience coming in, and that can only happen if the topics keep changing, or if you're doing one session about your story this month, then another session about your story should happen only after 4 weeks, because the audience needs to know that if you're speaking again, it's on a different topic, it's on a different agenda, and you'll be sharing more knowledge. Because at the end of the day, the audience would want to know more about you, and what are the kinds of various experiments or the various experiences that you've had, and how you can actually enhance their journey. So that can only happen once you talk about different topics. And now moving on to the next section, uh, increase the brand presence to multiple social media platforms that's there. Now, as you know, when it comes to social media, uh, though you have your profile on social media platforms, but you are not the owner of that profile. Let's say, for example, if tomorrow LinkedIn decides to ban my profile, I would have lost my 30,000 connections, the number of views that I've accumulated over a couple of years. Everything would be again zero. But why? Because I was too dependent on LinkedIn, or I was expecting that that platform would be staying there forever, which is not the case. Now, a simple example, which I'm sure everyone would have seen and experienced in the year 2020, when TikTok got banned, a lot of creators from TikTok lost an opportunity overnight. They had built their audience to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, and within just one day, because of a decision, because of an external factor, a government decision, they lost their followership, and they had to start over again on other channels, which again, it's a time taking process. So I would recommend, if you have been on one platform and if you have learned one platform for 6 months, it's try it's time for you to actually move to a new channel and start exploring that. Like, I am now learning Twitter. I was quite active on LinkedIn in 2020. I learned LinkedIn in 2020, and now when the start of 21, I moved to Twitter. I'm learning Twitter, I'm exploring Twitter, and along with that, I'm also learning Instagram, so that I can be present on all these three channels and make sure that I'm adding value to my audience from these three channels. And it's important to do that. Aniket, that's a very good question that you have asked on how to manage creating content on multiple platforms. It's definitely challenging because all three channels require different formats, different creatives, and the way that the content works on all these platforms is completely different. But the easiest way which I have found is creating content pillars. So once you create content pillars, it's easy to write on those topics. So my content pillars are personal branding, social media marketing, meme marketing, and brand and corporate branding. So when I talk about these four things, these four are the main content pillars that I'll be talking about. Then I start creating posts, a short form post for Twitter, which is less than 240 characters, then long form for LinkedIn, which is like either a carousel post or a text post, and probably a reel or just a story for Instagram. The pillars, as since the pillar is the same, I can easily spend my Saturday, Sunday creating content for the next entire week. So I create content batch wise, week on week. That helps me schedule my content for the next week and also gives me time to engage with the people who have engaged with my content. Because I cannot spend time creating content during the week as I have a full time job as well. So I create content during weekends, and during weekdays, I spend time engaging with them. So that's how you can also manage your time. Now, moving on to the last section of the post, whereas don't forget to connect with the community. That's one of my favorite points and one of the most important, how I've actually built such a big community. The only reason for that is if you can see my LinkedIn post, I make sure that I take the time out to respond to every comment that I get. Though it might get delayed, I might not respond immediately or within a day, but I make sure that at least by the weekend, I am responding to all the comments that I'm getting. Secondly, it's important to take your community members beyond social media platform. Now, let's say, for example, all of us are having a conversation here, Dheeraj, Priya, Vivan, Aniket. We now know each other on a personal terms through this platform. Now, let's say tomorrow, if I organize a Zoom call with all of us being there, that Zoom call would carry more credibility and more recall value. Now, I would know you much more personally. Here, you are just listening to me as of now. But when it comes to a Zoom call or when it comes to a WhatsApp video call with a group member, with group members, that creates instant connection, that creates that bond of community. And that is something that's always long lasting and that can actually help you with future referrals, and also getting in more inquiries for your business. So that's something that I would really recommend if you are trying to build your community and working on your personal brand. Try to take that community beyond social media. Connect with them on Zoom, connect with them on Google Meet, have a conversation with them so that you can build a stronger connection and you get to know more about them. So that is something that can easily be managed. As now I've reached the last part of the slide. If you have any questions, if you want any more clarity on how you can actually get more leads by working hard on your personal brand, feel free to ask those questions. For the next 5 minutes, I'll be taking up any questions that you have, and let's discuss on that before I give one bonus tip before I leave. Okay, while you guys are deciding on the questions, let me just give you one bonus tip. A lot of people have talked about being consistent on a lot of platforms, but the thing is, everyone understands that it is easy or it is important to be consistent. But the thing is, how to be consistent or what are the ways that I can be consistent. The one thing that has really worked for me is blocking my calendar for 30 minutes to spend time on each social media platform that I'm trying to build my community on. So the thing is, I'm trying to build my community on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on Twitter. 30 minutes of my time in the morning I have blocked specifically so that I go on LinkedIn, I explore the platform, I engage with people, I learn about them, I connect with someone new. 30 minutes of LinkedIn, 30 minutes of Instagram, and 30 minutes of Twitter. in these 30 minutes, it's not just random scroll. You are either connecting with someone new or engaging with someone's content and through valuable feedback or through valuable comments, and then exploring new platform features. Doing these three things continuously for 30 days would actually take all your accounts to the next level. So that is something that I've felt can be really helpful for you as a bonus tip, which has really worked for me. That is something that you guys can actually try it out and see if that helps you in building your brand and your credibility, and also improving the lead generation mechanism that you have. If there are no further questions, then probably we can end the session. And if you have any doubts, or feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. I'm available anywhere. Feel free to DM me as well. And just give me a couple of days to respond back to you. My DMs might be uncluttered at the moment, so just allow me a couple of days to respond back to you. Feel free to ask for any resources that you want on personal branding. There are a lot of free resources that I share on LinkedIn on how you can actually build your personal brand, how personal branding can actually help you generate more leads if you're an entrepreneur or a freelancer, and why that is important. So feel free to reach out to me, and I'll help you out with those free resources. Thank you so much for joining this session. It was really great having this session with you guys. Thank you so much for joining, and have a good weekend ahead, guys. Thanks.